Minecraft has been around for a long time, and with over 10 years of history, there are bound to be plenty of changes to the game. From new mobs to new textures, game updates are expected. But over the past 10 years, what has really changed so much that they've almost become unrecognizable? That's what we're exploring today. Let's do it. In at 10, stairs. Stairs are one of the most used blocks in Minecraft nowadays. Whether it's for a transparent block that looks like your wooden wall so you can still use your chests, or a faster way to get back up from the mines, or even as your roof, stairs are extremely popular blocks. However, back in the day, they were not anywhere close to as useful as they are now. Originally, the stair block was only intended to allow for players and mobs to change elevations without jumping. But when I say only, I mean only. Originally, the block wasn't even able to be sprinted on or placed on corners. I mean, you could place them on corners, but they wouldn't mold to the other stairs. It would just be like the full stair block. And yeah, you couldn't sprint up them, so great, right? You originally could only get them in oak wood, cobblestone, stone bricks, brick, and nether bricks. And to place them upside down, you had to place them on the bottom of another block, not just on the top half of a block face, on the actual bottom of the block above where you're trying to put it. And if you want to experience this ungodly pain for whatever reason, play the Tekkit Classic mod pack on the Technic launcher, okay? It's from Minecraft version 1.2.5 before the stairs got an upgrade. And then after playing that, you'll probably thank Lord Talos that they changed it. Hey, you gotta love Talos. This is what the necklace is. It's Talos. All praise Lord Talos. In at 9, item codes. Item codes also weren't as simple as they are now, or I guess depending on who you ask, they were simpler. Minecraft Java Edition used to have numerical IDs for each of its blocks. For example, stone was 1, logs were 17, and planks were 5. Don't know why they came before logs, but okay. And each variant on that block was another number after the first one, with the two separated by a colon. So for example, spruce logs would be 17:1, birch would be 17:2, etc. Same went for every block and every variant. 1.8 completely removed these numerical values, which was great, because why should I remember the number ID for a command block if the only way to get it was using the give command? Why can't I just type in command block? However, 1.13 modified the IDs of many blocks, items, biomes, particles, paintings, and entities, statistics, and sound events, removing all numerical IDs, and then removing some block states, and then changed NBT tags and display names. This specific change was known as the flattening, which honestly in my head makes more sense for when they removed the numerical IDs, but whatever, that's fine. This also made it easier for modders to make their items, since they didn't actually have to come up with a random number for their items, which might interfere with the numbers from another mod or something like that, which would cause crashing and incompatibilities. Since now stone is Minecraft:stone instead of 1, meaning that any mod item will have its name before its item name. So the copper from Buildcraft and Galacticraft would be different, despite being the same metal. It would be Buildcraft:copper or Galacticraft:copper. In at 8, combat. Right now, combat on Minecraft, Bedrock, and Java is drastically different. The most common example of this is how Bedrock seemingly didn't actually get the combat update. They got 1.9 and its end cities, but you can still spam attack on Bedrock, and in Java, you have to wait after each swipe. Sweeping attacks are also exclusive to Java Edition because of this, and there are combat-friendly axes in this case, and yeah, a bunch of different changes. And because of these differences, it's become almost impossible for players to enjoy both editions of the game without learning separate combat mechanics. Trust me, okay, I know this for a fact. Having to figure out how to play Bedrock Edition's combat made me absolutely sure that I prefer Java. Hopefully the next update can put an end to that, because having to crouch to use a shield is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, I know it's for controller friendliness, right? But if I'm using a mouse, let me left click, or just let me right click to block, okay? Or let me bind the key to my right click, okay? Because limiting me because I'm using a PC is stupid. In essence, if you want to play the old combat, don't use a shield in Bedrock Edition, and then you can still spam click, which was the normal fighting style until 1.9 in Java Edition. In at 7, nether portal sizes. Nether portals are definitely different now, especially where size is concerned, which sounds incredibly weird given that phrasing. But originally, nether portals could only be 2 blocks wide and 3 blocks tall. And by this I mean specifically the interior, the part that actually becomes the portal. The frame had to be 4 by 5, not including the corners. Or I guess including the corners, but you didn't have to have the corner blocks in the frame for it to work. And the portal had to be lit using one of the bottom 2 blocks. However, after version 1.7.2, they can be as big as 23 by 23 blocks, but still can't be smaller than 4 by 5. So your portal itself can now be 3 by 3, but not 2 by 2. And it can be lit from any block, the sides or the top. And honestly, that was the only update that Nether portals got, really. Until 1.16 when the ruined portal structure was added. But yeah, after the release of the game, the Nether portal had gotten 2 updates, and 2 updates only. For those of you who don't know, you can actually use nether portals to travel long distances in the overworld. If you don't watch like any SMPs like Hermitcraft or the like and were unaware, 1 block in the nether is equivalent to 8 blocks in the overworld, meaning that moving 125 blocks in the nether is 1 kilometer in the overworld, or 1,000 blocks. And if you divide the overworld coordinates by 8, you get where you need to place the portal in the nether for you to get a proper link, and vice versa. But that's nothing new, that's fairly common knowledge. Let's moving on. And at 6, the end. The 1.9 combat update, like I said, wasn't really a combat update. It was closer to an end update than an actual combat style thing. Out of the 22 additions to the game in 1.9, only 6 of them were actually combat based. Like sure, some mechanics were changed like the skeleton AI and sword blocking, but only 6 of the 22 new features were focused on combat. The majority of them were focused on the end, and that caused a load of changes from the original version of the end that we all knew and loved. Well, we all knew. This update added the additional end islands that weren't the main one, end cities, elytra, chorus fruit, dragon heads, shulkers, and gateways. The hell, I mean, this update even added the cages around some of the end crystals, and the ability to resummon the ender dragon. And not just that, this update also added dragon's breath attacks and the ability to collect it for potions, the ability to craft end crystals, it added end ships. Basically, everything we know and love about the end now comes from this update. The main reason to go to the end is because you want this stuff. It's no longer just to fight the so-called main boss of the game and gain like 60 XP levels one time and then maybe make an ender. Now you go for all this stuff. So yeah, the end is going on this list. Halfway through into number 5, the Nether. I mean, for anyone who played Minecraft prior to its YouTube resurgence, we all know how the end used to look. Horrible. There was a reason we all considered it the hell of Minecraft. A seemingly infinite mass of weird netherrack that kinda looked like flesh, but in a weird like mini wheats or shreddies kind of way. Like a dimension where you really needed something like Sphax in order to actually handle it properly, at least on your eyes. There was nothing there aside from nether fortresses and a lot of lava. The only reason you would normally go there was to get stuff for potions or to go to the end, but not to gather resources unless you wanted to make something out of nether brick, which would cause you to mine like 3 fortresses just to have enough blocks. But now, after 1.16 and honestly even before that, the nether really gained a purpose. After the redstone update introducing comparators and more, we flooded to the end to get all the quartz we could carry. But not only for these new mechanisms, but also because we finally had a solid white block that wasn't wool or snow to use in modern style builds. This block also had a slab and stair form as well, giving us even more variety than snow or wool. And then with the 1.16 update, the nether got a new lease on life. With plenty of new features, it basically became unrecognizable. I gotta tell you, okay, I was playing the snapshots with my girlfriend at the time, and the amount of gas that spawned in the Soul Sand Valleys was absolutely insane. Okay, I'm glad they cut back on that by a lot, because that really was hell. And at 4, zombie pigmen. Speaking of the 1.16 nether update, zombie pigmen are not what they used to be. Like, literally. Like, what we knew as the zombie pigmen are now known as zombified piglins and are not the same mob, which Mojang has made very clear despite them sharing the same behavior for the once iconic mob. The reason I say this is because zombie pigmen could appear rarely in the overworld when lightning strikes within 3 to 4 blocks of a pig. And while this mechanic was left in as a reference for older fans, Jeb has stated multiple times that this is not a canon feature of the zombified piglin, meaning that these are truly zombie piglins rather than just evolved and zombified pigs. The piglin species as a whole honestly also kind of looks similar to how Captain Sparkles had zombie pigmen depicted in his Fallen Kingdom saga of Minecraft music videos, with like their ears being added in the 2015 Find the Pieces song, I'm pretty sure, with the nether update not coming out until around 2020. So many do assume that this is where Mojang Mojang got the idea for either the mob species as a whole or specifically the ears. Getting close to the end into number 3, villagers. While nowadays villagers are passive mobs that inhabit villages, work at their professions, breed and interact with each other wearing outfits that vary according to their occupation and biome, that a player can trade with using emeralds as currency, originally they were nothing more than a mob that you could take your anger out on. When first being added in the 1.0.0 release, villagers had the same AI as pigs and had the name testificate displayed above their heads like a player name. Villagers had 5 professions indicated by their robe color, with any number after 4 giving them a green robe, something that we now know as nitwits. In 1.2.1, villagers were finally given the ability to open doors and repopulate villages based on the number of houses, but everything changed in 1.3. 1.3 added the first system of villager trading, which was honestly a nightmare, but it was a step in the right direction that personally I remember freaking out about when my friend told me. And then in 1.14 we got the village and pillage update, which just truly fixed villagers, to an extent at least. I mean, they're still difficult as hell to work with, but they don't breed based on houses or doors anymore, instead by the number of beds. They have set trades after making 1 trade at least, and then they don't remove any after they've been used 3 times, which was a thing that could happen. They just run out of stock temporarily. Basically, villagers now are nothing like they were back in Tekkit Classic or even MoonQuest days, since all the Yogscast used them for in MoonQuest was getting cool hats. Thank God they got updated, okay? It took a while, but still. Better late than never. Penultimately, in at number 2, textures. While yes, there have been plenty of texture changes throughout the game's lifetime, I don't think that there are any updates that changed it as drastically as 1.14. While yes, it fixed villagers, it also fixed a load of the textures that we had to deal with just because we were used to them. And when I say a load of them, I mean it. A majority of the items and blocks had their textures updated, and just generally for the better. For reference, the list of items that weren't updated is much shorter than the list of ones that were. Netherwort, blaze rod, and blaze powder items still use their old texture, as well as chests, trap chest, and the Christmas present chest variant that shows up in December. That's everything that wasn't updated. The rest of the items and blocks were. Some were definitely needed, like the brick and netherrack textures, and some kinda seemed pointless, like log, stone, and chiseled stone brick, which honestly I don't see a difference with, but I think the additional minerals like andesite, granite, and diorite really needed the update as well, and I much prefer the newer textures over the older ones, especially netherrack, since it still does like have that fleshy vibe, but it's also lost the whole shredded wheat thing, shreddies thing, okay? It had that kind of feeling, which really hurts your eyes if you're in the nether for too long. Imagine having to leave hell because it's ugly, and not because it's, like, hell. Yeah. And finally, in at number 1, Pocket Edition. Minecraft Pocket Edition was the former title of the Bedrock edition of Minecraft developed by Mojang, released for mobile devices before 1.2.0. Pocket Edition introduced the Bedrock engine, which was later ported to non-mobile platforms for the other 4 versions of Minecraft, the Windows 10, Gear VR, Apple TV, and Fire TV editions. And then to assist with clarification, the Minecraft community just refers to these versions collectively as Bedrock Edition, due to Bedrock being the name of the C++ codebase from which they all derive. The game on mobile was released with graphics akin to that of Java Alpha Edition, but that was really the only difference. Originally, the Pocket Edition version didn't even have a nether dimension, and instead you had to use a structure called a nether reactor. The main feature being a nether reactor core, which could be made with a line of diamonds in the middle column and iron on either side. Nether reactor cores could be used to create nether reactors, which would generate a square tower made of netherrack centered on the reactor, known as the nether spire. This was the only way to get netherrack in Pocket Edition until version 0.12.1, where the nether was added. So yeah, definitely come a long way. That's all the time we have for today though, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.